personally, here's where I think they didn't do a very good job, and that was with Kelsey Mitchell, who's an unrestricted free agent, because Kelsey Mitchell had a hell of a season this season, and I don't think she got the credit that she deserved.
Remember when Sheryl Swoopes claimed she had the inside scoop on the Fever's locker room drama? Well, guess what? Kelsey Mitchell just blew that theory out of the water with a single signature. She didn't just resign with IND Indiana. She shut down every wild rumor Swoopes tried to spread.
Hello everybody, Kelsey Mitchell here, and I'm a Fever girl again. So to my fans, to the basketball world, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be back. Indy has been good to me, and hopefully I could pour in and give the same. So here's to being a Fever girl.
But here's where it gets juicy. Mitchell didn't stop at signing. She's got some choice words that are about to make Swoopes eat crow. You won't believe what Kelsey has to say that's putting Swoopes in her place as she defends Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, and why she's proud to call her second home. Stick around, because this story is about to get real interesting. Are you ready? Let's go.
People in the Fever, we're like, y'all.
That's not my point. There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. Yeah. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
You know what's worse than a pot? Stir a supposed legend and Hall of Famer doing it. Let's talk about Sheryl Swoopes and her so-called insider info on the Fever. This woman's been spinning tales faster than a basketball on her finger. And it's time we called her out. Picture this: Swoopes, sitting on her high horse, drops a bombshell on Gilbert Arenas' podcast. She claims there's a lot of other things going on with the Fever. According to her, players are itching to bail, saying this ain't where I want to be. Really, Sheryl, because from where we're standing, the Fever just had their best season in years.
What kind of things do you feel?
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay.
But I'm talking about more social media.
Okay. It's a turn. Right? It's a turn, right? It's really a turn of the tides.
Well, right? Gil, here's my point. The beginning of the year, right? Everybody saw.
But wait, there's more. Swoopes didn't stop at trashing the team culture. She went after Caitlin Clark like a hungry defender on a loose ball. Remember when she tried to diminish Clark's NCAA scoring record? Swoopes claimed Clark was in her 5th year, a 25-year-old playing against teenagers. Newsflash: Sheryl Clark was in her 4th year, and last time I checked, she just celebrated her 23rd birthday. And don't even get me started on Swoopes' prediction about Clark's WNBA struggles. How'd that work out for you? Sheryl Clark just became the first rookie in almost 2 decades to make the All-NBA first team, but I guess breaking 62 records in your rookie season is what Swoopes calls struggling.
WNBA MVPs in your career, would you consider each of those 3 seasons as dominant seasons for yourself?
No.
I can't. Bro, Sheryl Swoopes is willing to lie about her own career before she even admits that Caitlin is dominant.
Now you might be thinking maybe Swoopes has a point about the Fever's locker room. After all, she's Sheryl Swoopes, right? One would assume as a WNBA veteran and media reporter she's have connections. Right? Wrong. Because guess what just happened? Kelsey Mitchell, the very player Swoopes claimed was being mistreated, just resigned with the Fever. That's right, the same Kelsey Mitchell, who Swoopes said didn't get the credit she deserved. You know what's funny? While Swoopes was busy playing armchair GM, the actual Fever management was singing a different tune. Amber Cox, the team's president, couldn't stop praising Clark and Mitchell. Next,
as we get into free agency, the number one priority for us is re-signing Kelsey Mitchell. I think that backcourt was about as lethal as we've seen in the WNBA, and I'm talking maybe in history, in the second half of the season last year.
And Stephanie White, she's been gushing about Mitchell's importance to the team's future. So what's really going on here? Is Swoopes just out of touch, or is there something else at play? Because from where we're sitting, it looks like she's trying to stir up drama where there isn't any, and you know what the Fever aren't having.
Where we are today without Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, she's clearly a very foundational piece. She's got 7 years of being in and out of this building. She went through a lot.
But here's where it gets really interesting. What did Kelsey Mitchell actually say that's putting Swoopes in her place? And why is she so happy to be back with the Fever? We're about to dive Into that in a bit, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Let's first talk about sour grapes, shall we? Because that's exactly what Sheryl Swoopes is serving up, and it's not a good look. Remember when Caitlin Clark won Times Athlete of the Year? It was a massive moment for women's basketball. First time ever a WNBA player snagged that title. You'd think everyone in the basketball world would be celebrating, right? Well, not Swoopes. Next.
What's your reaction to Caitlin Clark winning Time Magazine Athlete of the Year?
I don't think I'm surprised. I'm curious to know who the other candidates were.
Instead of popping champagne, Swoopes decided to play party pooper on Gil's arena. She starts questioning the award criteria like she's some kind of investigative journalist. Is it really just about what you do on the court? She asks. Come on, Sheryl, we all know it's not just about buckets and assists. While Clark was an MVP candidate in the WNBA last year, it's also about impact, influence, and pushing the sport forward. And Clark, she's doing all of that and then some, especially after her back-to-back historic NCAA senior season at Iowa and her record-breaking freshman season at Indy.
That's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year. It's pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
But wait, it gets better. Swoopes then suggests that A'ja Wilson should have been nominated instead. Now, don't get me wrong, Wilson is great on the court, but this isn't about pitting one player against another. It's about recognizing a groundbreaking moment for women's basketball as a whole. Swoopes missed the forest for the trees, and it's honestly kind of embarrassing.
Put A'ja Wilson in there.
That was just basketball.
So that's what I'm saying. Was it just the performance on the court, or
it's global? It's like, I think it's everything.
Yeah,
it's everything.
Want to know what real leadership looks like? Look no further than Amber Cox, the Indiana Fever's GM. When asked about Clark's time win, Cox didn't hesitate. She called it a massive deal for women's basketball. No if ands or buts, just pure, unadulterated support for a player who's changing the game.
Caitlin Clark deserved that award. What Caitlin Clark did, because so many eyeballs were on her, was she is a huge multiplier effect of that.
And let's talk about that change for a second. You know how some people say women's basketball doesn't draw crowds? Well, Clark just blew that argument out of the water with analysts, not just saying that Clark moves the needle, but that she is the needle. Kelsey Mitchell resigned.
A lot of people say that Caitlin Clark moves the needle. That is wrong. She is the needle. She dictates. We all know what she's done on the floor. It's history, right? But off the floor, my goodness.
And you know what? The numbers back it up. The WNBA saw a huge spike in viewership and attendance during the 2024 season. We're talking packed arenas, merchandise flying off the shelves, and social media buzzing nonstop. This isn't just good for Clark or the Fever, it's good for every single player in the league.
She and the Indiana Fever accounted for 45% of all the broadcast value of the WNBA last season. She accounted also for helping drive the numbers of merchandising up 500%. Of course, her jersey was numbered.
But Swoopes, she's stuck in the past, acting like Clark. Success somehow diminishes the achievements of others. It's a classic case of back in my day syndrome, and it's not a good look for a Hall of Famer. You'd think someone who blazed trails in her own career would be cheering on the next generation. Instead, she's trying to rain on their parade. The basketball community isn't having it, though. Analysts, fans, and players are calling Swoopes out for spreading misinformation and trying to undermine current players. It's like she forgot that the game moves forward, not backward, and right now it's moving at Clark's pace.
So I think Caitlin, she moves because she knows people follow her no matter where she goes, and she's very strategic about dictating where her value is.
So here's the million-dollar question. Why is Swoopes so bent out of shape about Clark's success? Is it jealousy, a misguided attempt to stay relevant, or is there something deeper going on that we're all missing? Because let's be real, this isn't just about one award or one player. This is about the future of women's basketball. It's about recognizing and celebrating the players who are taking the game to new heights, and right now, Caitlin Clark is at the forefront of that movement.
Kelsey Mitchell re-signed with the Indiana Fever. Well, wait a minute. No, that's not what Sheryl Swoopes said was going to happen. I mean, she was going to get out of a toxic situation, right? Maybe not. Maybe not. So, let's take a look at this. Man, I got to tell you, Sheryl Swoopes is getting crushed yesterday, today, after Kelsey Mitchell agreed to re-sign.